The Phoenix Suns have just been eliminated in the first round of the playoffs, and well, that didn't go how they thought it would. In 2021, the Phoenix Suns made it all the way to the NBA Finals, and now fast forward 3 years later, after adding 2 more All-Stars, they somehow managed to get worse. Literally the same day the Suns lost Game 4, reports came out showing how frustrated the players and coaches were with the team. Stuff like that usually comes out after the playoffs, especially when you get swept in the first round, but for it to happen the same day is hilarious. KD is saying he felt like he wasn't involved enough on the offensive end, Frank Vogel is saying the players were not buying in, and a Sun source is saying the GM has no idea what he's doing when it comes to basketball. The entire organization is falling apart and everyone involved is a little bit to blame. I mean, Bradley Beal, aka the dude that they added to help them get over the hump, said he'll be damned if he gets swept and then put up an absolute stinker. People are already talking about what team KD is going to next, and of course they're already putting trades together to send him to the Lakers. I don't know if I've ever seen a super team get built and destroyed within the same season, although that Nets team was in a very similar spot. In Game 4, we saw Anthony Edwards rip the torch away from KD and saw a coach go out with a season-ending injury. Chris Finch really sacrificed his body to protect Mike Conley from crashing out of bounds. That's a winning coach. The whole series was just unbelievably chaotic for a series that only lasted 4 games. But if the Phoenix Suns taught us anything, it is how not to build a super team. To show you exactly how bad of a spot the Suns put themselves in, we have to go all the way back to the 2020 to 2021 season. With a core of Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Mikal Bridges, they went on to win 51 games, capturing the 2nd seed in the West. They had a really good regular season and an even better playoff run where they went all the way to the finals. And not only did they make it there, but they took down some really good teams in the process. They beat the defending championship Lakers in 6 games, then they swept the Nuggets and also beat the Clippers in 6 games as well. And finally, once they actually made it to the finals, they had a 2-0 lead over the Milwaukee Bucks before losing 4 straight games to end the series. If they were able to hold on to that lead and just win 2 more games, this video would be completely different. Although some injuries on other teams helped them get to the finals, they still did their job and got further than a lot of people thought they would. But everyone on the Suns was still extremely young and the future was very, very bright. The next season, they were even better as a team. They won 64 games on their way to easily becoming the 1 seed in the West. Chris Paul was an all-star for the 3rd year in a row, Mikal Bridges was on the all-defensive first team and a defensive player of the year candidate, and also Cam Johnson, who was a 6th man of the year candidate. Just like last season, Booker was the main guy and the roster was built perfectly, with multiple extremely good role players all around him. Not to mention they also had the coach of the year in Monty Williams. Everything was going fine until the playoffs. They beat the Pelicans in the first round in 6 games and then lost to the Dallas Mavericks in 7. Yet again, the Suns had the lead in that series 2 different times, but still lost games 6 and 7. This year, they were expected to go deep in the playoffs, but underperformed in honestly both series. The next season, they kept essentially the exact same roster and tried it again. This did not really work. They started off the season strong, but had a point in the middle of the season where they lost 15 games in a 22-game stretch. They were dealing with injuries and the team just wasn't really clicking like they used to. Things were just not working with the team and trade rumors were all over the place. They decided before the trade deadline that they would trade Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and several first-round picks for Kevin Durant. Yeah, they lost some key players and picks, but when you have the opportunity to add Kevin Durant to your team, you take it. The only problem was Kevin Durant was dealing with some injuries himself, so he was in and out of the lineup for the rest of the regular season. He only played 8 games with them heading into the playoffs, where they lost again in the 2nd round, but this time to the eventual champions Denver Nuggets. And they have a completely new roster, so it takes time to build that chemistry. All they have to do now is maybe add a couple more pieces around their 2 superstars and run it back next year. Right? Yeah, no. Instead of trying to build with what they already had, they chose to get rid of everything they had left for Bradley Beal, who, mind you, just signed a massive contract with the Wizards the year before. They traded Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and all the rest of their first-round picks for him. Not only were they paying a ton of money for KD and Devin Booker, but now they had to pay Bradley Beal. On paper, that trio seems pretty good. It is 3 all-stars playing on the same team. But this isn't 2K, and the rest of the team actually matters. They really had nobody else on the roster and no money to sign any high-quality role players. They even traded DeAndre Ayton for Keon Johnson, Nasir Little, and Yusuf Nurkic. So they officially got rid of the only team chemistry they had left. They were able to pick up a few solid role players like Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon, but those two alone can only help you so much. They had barely any money to fill out the rest of the starting lineup, let alone a bench unit. There are multiple teams in the league with no superstars and still struggle to fill out a half-decent bench unit. The Nuggets, for example, are such a good team because of their insane depth. They do have 2 superstars that get paid a lot, but the rest is distributed to multiple high-level bench players. It's part of the reason why they're such a dominant team and will be as long as they keep their core together. Even the Nuggets have some guys that leave for more money, but they always figure out a way to fill the need that player left. The Suns, however, said, no, we'll be fine. Like seriously, going into this season, the Suns were actually confident in their roster. Devin Booker said, I don't know how teams are going to guard us, and Kevin Durant said, you can't guard all of us at once. A good amount of Suns fans really thought they were about to dominate the entire league, but almost everybody else thought there were some very obvious red flags. Don't get me wrong, I don't think we would have predicted them getting swept in the first round, but I don't think anyone is really shocked. The day they signed Bradley Beal, almost everybody was saying, how is that going to work? There is only one ball and they have no depth, which is getting more and more important every year. And all 3 all-stars were known for their scoring and not really known to be good defenders, other than maybe KD. And those fans were definitely right. This felt like the first super team that was put together and nobody was really scared of them. We knew they would be pretty solid, but definitely not a championship team like they thought they were. The Suns had a completely different roster coming into this year's season. They even got Frank Vogel to become their new head coach. That team that was in the NBA Finals just a few years ago was just not there anymore. I'm not even kidding, the only player left from that Finals team was Devin Booker, everyone else was gone. But I mean, they still had a solid regular season. They won 49 games in a very difficult Western Conference and went to the playoffs as the 6th seed. So they were the underdogs and were also matched up with a very good Timberwolves team. They have the best defense in the league, a deep rotation, and Michael Jordan himself. So getting swept by them isn't as bad as it looks. The Timberwolves were literally just 1 game behind the 1 seed themselves. But still, if you're building a championship team, then you have to be able to compete against those top-level teams. And although KD and Booker played really well throughout the series for the most part, they were just behind in every other matchup. The final game showed you exactly what the team was. KD finished with 33 points, Devin Booker had 49, and Bradley Beal had, well, 9. The entire rest of the team combined for 25 points. There was really no chance that they were beating this Timberwolves team with that roster. And now that they lost, the blame is going on Frank Vogel instead of the big names the team spent their money on. Which is funny because when Frank Vogel got fired from the Lakers, it was a very similar situation. A roster that just didn't fit together. You can only do so much coaching to a team that just doesn't fit right. But their big 3 are under contract for the next few years, so I don't think there's going to be any major changes with this team. The only player that you would trade is Bradley Beal, and well, he has a no trade clause, so good luck with that. They're probably just gonna have to run it back and try to somehow get better cheap pieces around them. Also, the Suns have basically no picks until 2030, so if this doesn't work out, it quite literally set them back like 10 years. But who knows, maybe they figure something out next season after building some more team chemistry. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this Suns team and leave a like on the video, it helps out the channel a lot. Also, subscribe if you're new for more basketball videos just like this one.